All right, let's talk about something that trips a lot of people up: academic writing. For so many of us, it can honestly feel like you're learning a whole new language, right? It's got all these weird rules and structures, but what if you had a roadmap? Well, that's exactly what this is: a step-by-step guide to get you from that scary blank page to a finished, polished paper.
We're going to break it all down into 5 main parts. First, we'll cover the pre-writing foundation, all the stuff you got to do before you type a single word. Then we'll look at the anatomy of a paper, open up the writer's toolkit, talk about presenting your findings, and wrap up with the most important piece of all: writing with integrity.
So let's start at the very beginning, with the pre-writing foundation. And I really can't stress this enough. The most critical work you'll do on a paper often happens before you've written a single sentence of the draft. This is where you lay the groundwork for everything else. Which brings up a really important question. Where does a great paper actually begin? I mean, is it with some brilliant light bulb moment idea or a revolutionary experiment? What do you think?
The answer? It starts right here. It begins with a rock-solid foundation built on these 3 things: searching the literature that's already out there, gathering your information systematically, and taking really good, effective notes. This is how you figure out what the conversation is about before you try to join in.
And at the heart of all that is the literature review. You know, a lit review does more than just summarize what other people have done. Its real job is to bring the reader up to speed, for sure, but it also justifies your own research. It's how you point to a map and say, "See this blank spot? That's where we're going."
And because it's so critical, let's talk about a few common traps to avoid. Look, the goal is not to create a giant laundry list of every article you found. You're not just describing what other people did. You're supposed to be synthesizing, grouping ideas together by themes, and actually evaluating them to build your case. It's all about analysis, not just quantity.
Okay, so you've done your homework, you've got your foundation. Now we can actually start building the paper itself. And thankfully, there's a pretty universal blueprint that most of the scientific world uses. It's called the IMRAD structure.
Seriously, think of this table as your ultimate cheat sheet. Each part does a very specific job. The introduction sets the stage. The methods section is all about what you did, so you write it in the past tense. The results are what you found, so that's in the past tense too. But then look at the discussion. You switch to the present tense to talk about what it all means. That little shift in tense is a powerful signal to your reader.
So we've got our blueprint. Now let's zoom in a little and open up the writer's toolkit. We're talking about the nuts and bolts of crafting language that is super clear, precise, and easy to read.
If there's one tool you need to master, it's this one: the active voice. For years, scientists were taught to use this stuffy, passive voice, but that's changed. Now, active voice is the way to go. It's more direct, it's more interesting, and yes, it is totally okay to say "we" when you're talking about what your team did.
And this just shows you the difference perfectly. Just listen. On one side you have, "An examination was made of the samples." And on the other, "We examined the samples." Hear that? The second one is so much stronger, so much clearer. It just gets straight to the point.
The big takeaway with verb tenses is that they're not just about grammar. They're like signposts for your reader. The past tense tells them what happened. The present tense tells them what's generally true or what you're concluding. And the future tense points to what's next. It's all about guiding your reader.
All right, the paper is written, the language is sharp. Now for the fun part: showing off your data. This is where you move beyond just words to really drive home the importance of your work.
And that leads to a very common question, one that trips up a lot of people. When should you use a table, and when is it better to go with a figure, like a chart or a graph?
Well, here's the rule of thumb. Use a table when the precise, exact numbers are important. If your reader needs to know that one specific value was exactly 11.1, a table is the perfect way to show them that.
But, and this is a big but, if you want to show an overall pattern or a trend, a figure is way more powerful. And get this chart uses the exact same data as that table we just saw. But here, the pattern just jumps right off the page at you. You can see the relationship instantly.
And finally, you have to stick the landing with a powerful conclusion. This is not the place to just restate what you already said in the abstract. Your job here is to answer the big "so what" question. Tell us why your work matters and suggest where we could go from here. It's your last chance to make an impression.
Which brings us to our final and frankly our most important section, because all the great writing and cool charts in the world don't mean a thing without this: Writing with integrity. Well, it's not just a guideline, it's the bedrock of all science.
First, there's fabrication. This one's pretty straightforward. It means making stuff up, inventing data out of thin air. It's the most obvious form of scientific misconduct.
Then there's falsification, which is a little bit sneakier. This is when you don't invent the data, but you manipulate it. You might cherry-pick the results that look good, or you might leave out the data that doesn't fit your hypothesis.
And, of course, there's plagiarism. And we have to remember, this is more than just copying someone's words. It's also taking their ideas, their methods, or their results without giving them the proper credit. The golden rule is simple. Always, always give credit where it's due.
And let's be crystal clear. The consequences for any of this are severe. We're talking about having your papers retracted, losing your funding, even getting fired. Your career and your reputation can be permanently damaged. These are lines you just can't cross.
Sup, to wrap this all up, I want to leave you with this one thought. Try not to think of writing a paper as just some chore you have to do. Your paper is your voice in a global conversation that's been going on for centuries. It's your chance to add to what we know. So the real question is, what will you say?